Hello, this is Roland. Welcome. This is going to be part 2 of my of a series about meditation, and I'm talking about Madame Guyon, the famous French spiritual writer, and her what in French she called le moyen court, the short and easy method of prayer. Actually, it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. You can find it in English in various translations, but I have discovered that the one that is the most faithful, it may not be the prettiest, but it's the most faithful to the original, which I think is very important. It's called Spiritual Progress. It has her moyen court, her short and easy method of prayer, and also something from François Finlon. And it was published back in 1851, I believe, or 1852. And some of that is actually, you will find some of it in this book that I edited, A Guide to True Peace Revisited. And this book you can get at Amazon. I think it's a couple of dollars. It's very reasonable. Or maybe it's $4. I don't remember. But you can get it in Kindle or in paperback. It's a very nice little book. It makes a nice gift book. But you'll find some of it in here. Or you can go online and find Spiritual Progress. It's available to, for example, at archive.org to read for free. It's in the public domain. Let's begin with her, what she says. And she says, there are 2 ways of introducing a soul into prayer, which should be pursued for some time, and the one is meditation, the other is reading accompanied by meditation. Okay, what I'm doing is I am presenting what she says, and then I talk about my meditation, so that you can see that my meditation does or helps you to do what she says. Because what she says is brilliant, and it's just right on. The only thing is that Madame Guyon was such a nice lady. I'm sure that she had already found the objective state. She wasn't lost in texting, in entertainment, in music, in television, or lost in the imagination, daydreaming, worrying about the future and reliving the past. She wasn't lost down in that like we are today. She found the objective state because she wasn't lost in those things, and because she had a deep love of truth and a desire to live according to spiritual principles. Yep. And so the combination of those, she was already in the object. She found it. She found the objective state. And then she was trying to help other people to find it also. And she actually does a very nice job. However, I have the little something extra that can get you kick-started, or that can get you going. Okay, the little something extra that can make it possible for you. Because I actually have a little meditation that you can practice that helps you do it. Now let's talk about what she says. She said there are 2 ways of introducing a soul into prayer. And then she talks about meditative reading, which is choosing some important practical or speculative truth, always preferring the practical and proceeding thus. Whatever truth you have chosen, in other words, whatever nice reading. For example, an excellent thing to do, what she's saying, would be A Guide to True Peace Revisited. Okay, very spiritual, very beautiful. And it said, read only a small portion of it, endeavoring to taste and digest it, to extract the essence and substance of it, and proceed no farther, while any savor or relish remains in the passage. Then take up your book again and proceed as before, seldom reading more than half a page at a time. Okay? Well, you know what she says in the original French. I have the original French. This is a good translation here. I'm reading from Spiritual Progress. But in the original French, I don't know if I can find it. She says, ensuite en lire 2 ou 3 lignes, les digérer et goûter, tâchant d'en prendre le sucre et de se tenir arrêté à l'endroit que l'on lit, tant que l'on y trouve du goût, et ne passant point outre que cet endroit ne soit rendu insipide. So she says to read 2 or 3 lines. Okay? Well, so that's what she says. Then she goes on to say that you can also do this type of meditation. She says when by an act of lively faith you are placed in the presence of God, read some truth wherein there is substance. Pause gently thereon, not to employ the reason, but merely to fix the mind, observing that the principal exercise should be ever the presence of God, and that the subject, therefore, should rather serve to stay the mind than exercise it in reading. So, this second one now is closer to what I would recommend. In other words, first you find the objective state where you're not lost in thought, not lost in daydream. You're standing back so you can observe thought instead of being lost in it. So now you have this objective state. You're not lost in the prejudices and the preconceived ideas and the brainwashing and the goofy ideas and things that you've learned in the past that don't really apply and all of that, okay? You're not lost in that. Instead, you're standing back and now read. Okay? Now read, and read from something very nice like this. Read until you see something that is like highlighted, something that stands out, something that you can pause at and realize, see, and have like an aha moment or see something deeply, where suddenly maybe you read this many times before, but now all of a sudden, oh, I see. And then stop at that point and put the book down and just stay with that. Okay? Because if you go forward, then you lose it. You see? Then you become greedy. It's almost like becoming greedy. You can't become greedy. You have to be content with what the Spirit, okay, God's inner light, highlights for you. Okay? Remember, it's the inner testimony that's the important thing. It's the inner light that in which you see, in which you realize, in which you discover, see, in which you understand. Okay? So that's the important thing, not the words on the page. Remember, Christ said, the letter kills, but the Spirit gives life. The Spirit gives life. Okay? So Christ once said to the Sadducees and the Pharisees, he said, you scour the scriptures looking for, truth and here I am. See? They were so lost in their book learning, lost in study. So that brings me to another very important point. And that is you won't find God in study. You can't study your way to God. Okay? Most people read, they don't read properly. When I read very lightly. I scan. Okay? Until something is highlighted. It gets to the point with me that I go into a library, I pick one book. I don't even know why I picked a book. Maybe sometimes I'm guided to pick it. Not always, but it's possible. I pick up the book, and then there's one thing in there that I see. One thing. And that's enough. Okay? But most people, they read and they get lost in the words and lost in analysis and study and concentration and trying to figure things out because it's pure hypnotic. Concentration is how you produce hypnosis. Whereas defocusing, standing back, that's how you come out of hypnosis and come to the objective state. So the objective state, that is the prize. That is the prize, not the reading, not the words on a page. Okay? Written by somebody. See, whatever you read that somebody has written, no matter how nice it is, it's secondhand. It's something secondhand. But it can be useful in that it can awaken you to see for yourself. But then when you see in the inner light. See? And in the inner light, something wordlessly says yes to what you're reading. And then more comes. Much more. You could read one line, and it awakens you to realize, to understand. And then you close your book, and then you go about your daily activities. And then as you're going about your activities, then you have other insights and deeper understanding, flashes of deeper understanding over what you had read. And out in the world you see how that principle applies to people and so on. And that's what I do, and that's how I write. I get a very spiritual book and then read just a little bit. But first I meditate for the objective state. That's the prize. You don't need to read. Okay? But it's important for me to talk about this reading thing because so that you can understand the difference between reading properly and not properly, and why most people don't read properly. And so if you don't have the objective state, you're not going to realize in God's light. Okay? And you're more likely to just get caught up in something, lost in it. So the objective state is the prize. So first you meditate for objectivity, then you can read a little bit and lightly. Okay? Then she goes on to say something very important, and that is that she says that those who cannot read books are not, on that account, excluded from prayer. And when she says prayer, she means coming into the presence of God. Okay? Or finding the objective state. See, if I talk about the presence of God, which is very beautiful and it's true, but for the beginning meditator, it's more like, see, there are levels. See, you rise. You rise in enlightenment and in understanding, and you come out of the. So the first thing is you come out of the hypnotic state, out of the state where you're just completely lost in whatever grabs your attention, inside or outside. Now you're awake instead of being hypnotized. But you also need to be awake and aware. It's not just enough to be awake. Okay? You're better being awake than being hypnotized. But being awake is not enough. You have to also become aware in the inner light. Okay? And that's where the meditation helps you to, teaches you how to become still and find that objective state. Okay? But then after that, it'd be an endless learning. See, I see something today that maybe I saw for the first time 25 years ago, but now I see it more deeply. See, or another facet of it. See, it's like, I remember there was a man who used to do a lot of training, and he was in the human potential movement, Will Schutz, and he said the progression is from simplistic. First, people know things in a simplistic way, and then they know it in a complicated way, complicated intellectual way, okay, and then finally they know it with divine simplicity, okay? Divine simplicity. So there's no end to the realizations. See, even as God lives eternally, there's a little bit of everlastingness and eternity in everything that he does. Well, he created Adam to live forever, but also to realize forever, to discover forever, to appreciate and marvel at God forever. See, and to understand more and more forever, and deeper. So there's no end to the depth of what one can discover and realize. But it's not a thing of the intellect. See, you realize, but then the realization affects the mind, collates words and ideas, puts them together, and then you also can have it in the intellect. But first it's the understanding, and then the intellect and the words, flow from the realization. But most people have it backwards. They try to gobble greedily words and ideas, and then what happens is they don't have the objective state. And so they miss out on it, you see. So it's just like Albert Einstein. I always use him as an example. See, he realized it was his insight from his intuition. That's where his discoveries came from. Then he thought about them. He used his imagination for thought experience, and he used his mind for math and for expressing the ideas. So at first it was intuition, realization from intuition, and then it became thinking. See how that works? But once again, the objective state where you can realize, that's the prize. That is the prize. And Madame Guyon goes on, so she says that you don't have to be able to read to be able to meditate properly, which is absolutely true. See, people who read too much, or who are intellectual, or who are greedy for knowledge, they are precluded. They're precluded. They actually block themselves. The words actually, and the study, and the fixation, and the trying to reach a goal, to have knowledge and impress people, and whatever that goal is, it actually blocks them. There has to be a pure, disinterested love of truth, a love of truth, and a yearning for the truth, and a desire to live according to spiritual principles. It has to be that. And that qualifies you, to realize. And it also makes it so you want to have the objective state. Well, as for me, I don't want to be, drinking or smoking or doing things that take me away from being able to realize. When I don't realize much, or when I have to do some paperwork or something that sort of gets me caught up in it a little bit, I don't get totally caught up, but a little bit, It drags me, it pulls me down. I don't enjoy it. I want to be free with a clear mind, so I can realize in the present moment. So I'm always snapping out of. If a daydream comes along, then I snap out of it. So I think I've said enough for today. I don't want to make this too long. Madame Guyon, her book, Le Moyen Court, the short method. The short and easy method of prayer is excellent. The English translation that's the most faithful to her original writing, which was in French, is called Spiritual Progress. It's available online for free, and there's some of it is in this book here. This also contains writings from Miguel Molinos, who was also of the same mind, as Madame Guyon, and Francois Benlon. But you can find the Spiritual Progress online for free. And also some people have published it, which you can find. The objective state is the prize. What I was going to say is that for the beginning meditator, it's not, realize, you won't know that you're in the presence of God. And you won't even know that's what you're doing. All you know is that you yearn for truth, and you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, and you don't want to hate anymore, and you want real answers, and you've tried to save yourself and figure everything out, and it hasn't worked. And And so now you have a pure yearning for truth, and you want to live properly, but you can see that you can't. Of yourself, you can't. So this pure these pure realizations, these fundamental realizations, which are also of God, actually. His light is already there so that you can see those things. But the difference between you and other people is that at a certain point you're ready to realize them and not resent them. See, most people resent those realizations. But now you don't resent, see, if you don't resent them, then you can meditate. And so it'll simply be like coming out of darkness, coming out of a fog, coming back to the light, coming back to the bright sunshine, and the birds are singing, and the sky is blue, and there's puffy clouds in the sky. And it's like a relief. It's like a sense of relief. All these burdens, these resentments, and these burdens that people have laid upon you. And the reason they were laid upon you is because you resented. See? It's such a relief. And when you listen to someone like me, well, that's nice too, because I confirm what you already knew. See? I confirm some of the things that you already suspected were true. And then I have the little meditation, which is a simple way, see, of learning to sit still and find the objective state. And then later, Paul said, first we see in the glass darkly, and then later face to face. Okay, so later you'll begin to realize just who it is that's helping you, and you begin to begin to realize things about God and about Jesus and so on. But in the beginning, it'll mainly be just coming out of this darkness and laying down these burdens, and it's like a relief, coming out of a fog and beginning to see clearly. Okay, that's what the first things that you will see. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed today's little talk, and I hope to see you when I make my next talk, Lord willing.